Back at it again with another video of TNO. Today we'll be playing Guangdong. Apparently it's one of the best written focuses in TNO, together with the new one in the Mexican states. But essentially we are not really a nation, we are more like a corporation for Japan, exploiting the native people and importing Japanese immigrants to slowly displace the Chinese. And there's 4 routes we can go for, which we'll see probably later on. And each route, it depends on what you do, gives you different bonuses, gives you different paths. There's plenty of different endings for Guangdong. But I think I'm gonna start off by looking for a wholesome ending. Though I do want to preface it, I'm not very experienced when it comes to this one. I've never played Guangdong yet, so I'm excited to see what this is about. Bang! At the sound of the gravel stood Kanda Tatsuya, 53 years old, Chief Marketing Officer of Yamashiro Chemicals Limited, Hong Kong. With his usual booming yet soothing sound, he delivered the contents of the stack of paper in hand unto the rest of the complex. He talked of the skyrocketing numbers of the shining furnaces of today lining the Kowloon riverside. Teeming with life indeed, he smiled, his mind back to yesterday's crate of shipments landing at his doorstep. Up stood Inaba Yukio, 46-year-old, Vice President of the Collective Tomorrow Enterprises. He smirked and applauded the marvelous stunt by the infamous Sony yes-men speaking before him. He then preached of derelict storefronts littering Hong Kong's outskirts, of the hazards of Guangdong's over-reliance on industries of little concern. His voice was calm, monotone, yet with every passing minute another dagger pierced the veil. He was fighting the good fight, of course he was. Secure one more plot of land in Kowloon for Fujitsu, and there's yet a way left towards promotion. Kawasaki Keiichi, 61 years old, Representative Director of Akagi Finance, sat unmoved in his corpulent, stony complexion, barely betraying the green blossoming underneath. It was he who brought up the split of land in the Legislative Council in the first place. So essentially, various different factions that we could go for, each provide something, and they're all kind of vying for control over the Guangdong state. I do have to say I am not knowledgeable of how to play this. I am gonna make mistakes, and that's okay. The workers contemplated their situation. Life in Guangdong was unquestionably a vale of tears, filled with mourning and weeping, though of course the workers would be far coarser about it if one of them asked. But it could be worse. They knew well. They could be in China, where their compatriots were all poor, miserable, utterly bereft of hope. At least here in Guangdong, the workers could dare to dream about what might be beyond the gates, unlike in China, where the atmosphere was misery, misery, and misery for miles around. A Guangdong police officer stopped someone that was suspected of shoplifting, or so he said. Everyone and their mother-in-law knew that shoplifting cases didn't occur remotely as often as the diligent police officers claimed they were. No, even a child could tell you that this was just an unsubtle attempt to shake somebody down for a bribe. The Chinese boy that the officer had chosen to pick on protested violently, but the officer himself, Zhu Yin, threatening him in Cantonese to call on his Japanese superior. The boy would have resisted had he not seen a Kenpei car rounding the corner. The boy cursed violently and paid the bribe, which amounted to his wages for the day. At that, the officer, satisfied, let him go. The boy continued swearing under his breath, as the reality of another night without food sunk in. The officer, on the other hand, began to rationalize his actions, as he always did. When he did something like this, he wasn't paid enough, he said. That's why he did it. He had to provide for his family, even if that meant that others had to foot the bill. Law of the jungle, or whatever it was that scientist Carl Sidney said. The strong take from the weak. But his conscience kept tormenting him. Electronics, perhaps. I've heard that the Sony lot are coming up with their cheap radios again. Maybe I should buy one of those to keep me amused at work. And I'm sure my girlfriend would love something from Matsushita or even Fujitsu. But then Alam thought about it and realized what his real focus should be on. No, all of this is irrelevant. It can wait. What I need is a better place to live, for me and my girlfriend. It was a grim day in Macau, and Lam Ho-Fai felt grim. The teeming masses of Chinese rushed through cityscape canyons while ignoring the signals of Guangdong police. Their clamor kept distant by Kenpei checkpoints. Beneath his feet, Suzuki felt a faint rumbling through the floor. The energy of an army of Cantonese Japanese civil servant toiling away under Japanese supervision. Yet nobody here served Japan. It was no surprise. Years of disinterest from Tokyo had let the tycoons, the four companies of Sony, Matsushita, Fujitsu, and Yasuda, as well as the outsider Shuangkong, drink deep and greedily. Through them, the Chinese were tied to their meager wages, the Cantonese Japanese chased futile dreams, and the Japanese were wedded to handsome dividends. It's basically a utopia, as you can see. Conflict of interest. Never met her. She from Beijing? The discussion shifted to the topic of somebody who had been missing from their conversation. Where's Sanada? How long has it been since he last was here? Been a few weeks, I wager. I heard the poor wretch lost everything on a bad investment and then disappeared before they could collect. Most people exchanged grim looks, but the bureaucrat laughed loudly. Should have collected on the bastard sooner. If he disappeared into the mass of Chinese like you say he has, there's nothing we can do now. Yeah, what is this? The regions of Guangdong. These are the 4 different organizations that have control, I guess. And in here, the 4 companies. Let's see what we have to do. Every year, tens of thousands of shareholders on the Japanese mainland expect their investments in Guangdong to make a return. Expect to see high growth. Should we reach these goals, business will continue as usual. But if they are missed, the political consequences will be severe. For the next year, our shareholders expect a real growth of 8,000%, or 8.0% maybe, or a GDP of 23. Yeah, that makes way more sense. A GDP of 23 billion. Unlocks the Miracle of Pearl River GUI in the Decisions tab. Okay, more stuff that we do not understand. There's 3 things that conspire to throw a wrench into their plans. 2 that are outside of Chief Executive's direct control, and 1 that suffuses everything in Guangdong. So we need approval of Japan, China needs to have a good opinion of us, and corruption needs to stay low, right? Oh, we might even be able to catch up with Manchukuo. That would be cool. Opinion of the Republic of China is currently capped at 56, and they have 40. There seems to be no cap on corruption, and that seems to be increasing. And Japan's approval is capped at 100%, but we have 75. Let's start by purging corrupt officials. In 20 days, the corporations will present their projects for consideration as well. Okay, what is this? On a cloudy, smoggy, and grim evening, Lo Kai-yi, one of the millions of housewives in the city of Koshu, wandered through the city's wet market. Her purpose was twofold, looking for goods for the night's supper and trying to find something to prepare for the upcoming Lunar New Year. Another year had passed since she had followed her husband, who had headed south from his and her rural village somewhere in Shaoguan to find work. As frequently happened, she was bothered by feelings of regret. She wished they hadn't left. She'd seen the beggars on the street without arms or legs, eaten alive and spit out by the brutal factories. And though she might lack literacy, she wasn't blind. She could see the occasional body on the suicide nets strung above the virtually every street. She hoped her husband wouldn't end up like that, but she knew quite well that the will of heaven was not something one could influence by hopes or predictions. At that moment, her ruminations were interrupted. She had found a good deal. A wide smile crossed her face as she handed over the yen and took the food into her bag. She and her husband would have something better than normal to eat this new year, and that had made her so happy. After all, her husband's happiness was hers, and hers was his. True, they hadn't married for love, but the two had learned to love each other, and that made the hell of iron that was Guangdong so much more bearable. Jeez, okay. Let's hope we can make a better nation for that couple. And so far, I do have to say, the writing is impeccable. Part of me almost wishes that this mod wasn't tied down by the HOI4 engine, because this is essentially like a visual novel with some cool features and minigames, etc. And I feel like a lot of it is being held back by the way that HOI4 works. It's a lot of visual, it's pretty much a visual novel. There's a lot of reading to be done, but there's not a lot of visual that you can see because of the way that HOI4 works. It would be actually great if they could somehow turn the New Order into a standalone thing. And I hope maybe one day they could do that. I definitely put my money into that. I'd love to have actual full-on visuals with this, a dedicated, screens for the mini games, for mechanics, etc. Instead of always having go through the events and decisions tab. It would be so much cooler if we could, have this as like a standalone game. I feel like there's a lot of potential to be had in that. I think so far we still cannot influence the regions of Guangdong. I'm guessing eventually we will be able to. But I'm surprised at how many Japanese expats are even in these provinces. I can get Macau having a third of Japanese expats because it's kind of a city-state. All three of these, in fact, have similar Japanese expat populations. But even in these massive ones, there's a decent chunk. 8% Japanese people in Shokkei? It's pretty damn impressive. I need to get rid of some more corruption, maybe. This will also increase Zujin support. Oh, no more mechanics. The tycoons of Guangdong. Okay, what does that do though? Let's meet with the Japanese elite for now. This will add some debt to us, which I don't like, but so be it. Okay, the Silicon Delta for now is not unlocked yet, I guess. Do we crack down on corruption again? Sure, we got points anyway. Currently, we have no way of focusing our research and development, so this doesn't make any sense yet. In here, we mostly can just look. I'm sure the Guangdong regions will be expanded upon later. Oh no, decisiveness saves souls. We will spend 50 million and it'll be added to our debt. It is time to decide which experimental rifle project we will subsidize for advanced field testing. The field testing unit will then deploy ready to be set to Malaya. To not run over budget, the PTRG in this and all future projects has a deadline of 1 year before they are forced to pull out of the conflict. Okay, we can choose. I did like very vague research because there's multiple paths you can go for. The one that speaks to me most is the Sony path. We will subsidize Sony then. Carry out river crossings in combat conditions. Oh, so experimental rifle divisions. Where can we send it to, you said? Malaya. Alright, this is the one that we want to support. Where is that? Shonen Marai. Let's send our volunteer in. We don't have any air anyway to send in. I'll attach a leader. This guy. Off he goes. Suzuki and Matsuzawa were 40 minutes into a morning meeting concerning the Legislative Council when a shrill ring came from outside the Chief Executive's chambers. Sorry to interrupt. Yes, the headquarters from Matsuzawa. Said it was urgent. I'll take it. Hopefully this won't take long. Minutes passed. Suzuki felt a twinge of pain as his last cigarette burnt down to a stub in his fingers. Cursing, he made for a vending machine next to the elevators before being stopped in his tracks by Matsuzawa's frustrated voice. The payments to Guangdong were being made by the Home Office. It's always them. What about Ino now? Is there any dirt between Ino and Yasuda? Let's see if we can find something, huh? Oh, our unit has indeed arrived. There we go, our first battle. And conditions exceeding 25 degrees. Is there any urban combat in here? We need jungle environment as well somewhere. This is plains. That's mountains. Let's attack in there. There we go, both river crossing and mountains. I need more guns maybe. As we recover our unit a little bit more. Attack some more. Let's go to Malacca again. It's prudent not to harm our benefactors maybe. Oh, this is urban. Attack the urban tile. And now they're attacking me back. Good. We need to get back to Kuala Lumpur, please. Before it falls, manufacture some more. We need it. Okay, we got urban, 25 degrees. We need a river crossing and mountainous tiles. Come on, run in here, please. Defend the mountains. Damn it. Well, we're still attacking the mountains, so it is helping. Oh, there's a jungle tile in there that could potentially get. This tile, there's no point in us defending. Let's also investigate the Yasuda connections. Good. So far, corruption has been dealt with adequately. Then again, you know, the campaign just got started, essentially. Still got a lot of work left to do. With experimental weapons, where are they? Can I make these experimental weapons? I don't think so, right? Early infantry, no. Improved infantry, no. Basic infantry, no. Nope. I don't see it anywhere. I don't think I'm allowed to make experimental infantry equipment. Oh, there's an opportunity for a river crossing in here. I see it. Let's go at it. Manufacture some more guns. Damn it, we lost. We only get to test 2 and then the other 2 halfway. I am hoping there will be more possibilities for us soon. Any more conflicts we could join in? It's mostly manpower that we're lacking. Well, yeah. Yeah, it is actually manpower that we were lacking. And let's of course subsidize Sony. That is what I want to have. And the testing and deployment in Malaya. It could have been worse. Oh dear, the rifle was not good. Damn it! Decreases Sony's legation council seats by 1. On the upside, at least, we were able to propel bullets out of its muzzle at a reasonably lethal velocity. The company is certain that it would generally maim anyone anyone it points at a close distance, most of the time. It appears that our psychological background recruitment checks were not up to standard either. Fortunately, the rifle is working in enough of a condition to at least make it into consideration. Proof of concept. Does suck that we couldn't do more. Show me the research decisions. Do you want to invest? I don't want to cut corners. Decreases Japanese expat. From what I understand, Japanese expats will like us quickly enough anyway. So let's do this and this, but not cut corners. Oh, Lam took one more glance at the freshly torn envelope in hand with what little cash left within, and handwritten on it was an all too familiar line of address, his one remaining anchor to the distant patch of soil he called home. You could only hope the amount he sent was enough for them to get by. The mail blackout, since 3 weeks ago, was growing more worrisome by the day. Pushing such a concern out of his thoughts, he lifted his head and stepped across the threshold of the Cha Chan Teng. How he wished he could give his family his wishes, but then he'd be lying to himself, for he knew what awaited those indigenous folks, as the higher-ups called them, could only be factory after factory as far as the eye could see, eager to squash them into the cogs of the industrial machine and little else. As Lam gobbled away at his plate of egg and meat, something right outside the glass panes caught his eyes. A slender feminine figure clad in pale blue kimono, peeking inside with almost curious wonder. The next moment she was gone, swept away by another towering, sharply dressed figure. Before Lam could spare it much thought, he felt a tug at his shoulders. There had been another accident, another body to pull off the nets. An all too familiar sight, sadly. Yoshiko, come on, stop staring, Baron Yasukawa's voice carried clearly from 10 paces ahead on the crowded Koshu streets, where Yasukawa Yoshiko, now dressed in a pale blue kimono, peered into a darkened Cha-Chang-Teng. Just looking, father. Is it not odd to want to see how people live their lives outside of Japan, is it? Shouldn't be close to the Chinese, there's no reason to be. They do their jobs, we do ours. It's how things work. Yes, father. The people inside looked tired, father. But they were lively. A dozen tables without an empty seat, all speaking over each other. Nothing like home. You don't know the Chinese at all. Don't pretend that you do. Well then, what about our valet? He spoke Japanese and seemed perfectly fine. What are they called? Juyin? The people here can't be all bad. They're none of your concern, Yoshiko. We're going back to Japan tomorrow. You don't have to worry about the world like you did in college. You're a daughter of the Yasukawa family. You'll probably never come back here again once you're married. Yoshiko chose to be silent, her mind elsewhere. That's cute that we get to see both perspectives. Crack down some more on corruption, maybe. Oh, there we go. We will enter the 1962 production cycle as Sony. Our initial product quality will be between 15 and 25. Our initial product interest will be between 15 and 25. Every product cycle, we get access to a wide variety of decisions to improve product quality and product interest. The fourth electronics conglomerate of the Guangdong is the Nissan subsidiary of Hitachi, led by Kenichiro. Their business strategy focuses on underselling its competitors by selling highly power-efficient electronics. Okay, more stuff to worry about. I do also feel like we're slowly nearing our goal, GDP-wise. Let's click all of these buttons so it can show me all the decisions I have to do. Oh, hell no. That's a lot of decisions I have to do. This is our current product. The quality is terrible. There's almost no interest. There's no market that we are currently focusing on. And the profitability is slightly above average. Let's start by testing the product rigorously. Force overtime for the engineers, because I know Japanese expat opinion improves very quickly. Oh, we don't have it just yet. We need to wait until those are done. Do we sell to China or to Japan? Let's sell to China as a start, really. This will also improve the quality of the product. Let's go. It will lower Chinese opinion of us, sadly. That's a sacrifice I'm afraid I'm gonna have to make. Product release deadline will be pushed forward by 10 days, but the profitability will increase. I'm not willing to press that just yet. We're improving our quality first, and the interest maybe. We can pay off highly ranked, yes, pay off high ranking contacts to get some interest going. Currently it's underperforming, Middling, okay. It is the interest currently that's lacking. We need more approval from the Chinese people. Give a freebie to the Chinese. Ooh. We are selling to the Chinese anyway. Yeah, click that. How many more days do we have? Okay, we're still not in a good enough position with that product to push it out. Test the product rigorously again. We have 70 days left. We could increase the profitability. Stanley Ho is a distinguished gentleman within the higher echelons of society in Guangdong. Ho rose to prominence by delivering opulent luxuries from across the sphere and outside into Guangdong, with a particular taste for illicit contraband. Sure, we'll work with the triads. Although the Yakuza probably is the better choice. Let's see if we can push the product forward a little bit. 38%, it's still not that great, though we are mostly growing. We could suppress negative press. Yeah, we do need, what's it called anyway? Interest more than anything. Although quality could be improved as well. Oh, I've been so engrossed into that mechanic, I forgot to do research. Whoops. Move factory workers to QA. Sure. And let's once again pay off, yes, high-ranking contacts. Okay, look at that. We will gain the following effects. The production cycle will be obtained. Get GDP growth, real GDP growth, miscellaneous income. Because we market towards the Republic of China, we will get the additional effects of increasing China's opinion. Okay, that's good. We do need their support anyway. Test the product rigorously again. Some more quality improvements. We'll almost be at good. We're above average. I don't know what the next step is. Yeah, great, in fact. This increases Sony's legation council seats by 0. That means we're getting closer to increasing our seats. So I do want to go for that more. Let's move more factory workers. Oh yeah. Use underground contacts as well. 10% extra interest. We still don't have enough to get more seats. We did lose one with the testing. With the testing of the experimental gun in Malay. So if possible, I'd like to at least get that one back. What if we were to sell to Japan instead, huh? Would that increase our profitability? It does. You know what? No, I'll sell to no specific market maybe. But that doesn't give us an opinion bonus. So maybe just sell to Japan, to China instead. Let's suppress negative press again. In 10 days, I hope we make it. No, I don't think we will. We'll see. We'll see. We have high interest, great quality. This will give us an extra seat, so that's good at least. If we're lucky, this will pop in as well, and it'll count towards the interest. Yeah, I don't think I can do anything else right now. We have a base percentage of 72.5, and there it is. That's not the product that makes money, it's the ancillaries. Due to future larger product requirements, our initial product quality and interest will be reduced by 5%, so it's going to be more difficult in the future. Great. Regardless, crack down on corruption now and resettle the population. The now homeless Chinese villagers evicted from their lands are without anywhere to stay, and with unemployed laborers wandering the countryside, Suzuki has drafted measures to effectively manage the unexploited opportunity. They'll be basically resettled into cities, whether they want to or not. We're also getting very close to our GDP goal. I'm very excited about that. And in here we get a GDP growth extra of 0.4%. Nothing to write home about, but it's a very good start. Yeah, damn, growth rate of 13%. We are definitely blowing out of the water. Look at it. That's the 8% that they wanted off of us. That the GDP is, could be worse. An update from Tokyo. With Chief Executive Suzuki's initial assessment of Guangdong's economic potential and security outlook complete, Suzuki prepares for a regular call with the Prime Minister in Tokyo to update him about his findings and to seek authorization for his plan to stabilize the territory over a longer term. Excuse me, Professor. You say the Zhuyin as a demographic is a natural consequence of the state of Guangdong's formation. I struggle to understand just what about it is natural. It would make more sense if they made it out of, say, an ethnic Japanese-Chinese hybrid, but even that doesn't seem to be the case. Suzuda Hayato froze, his gaze fixated on the pond of 50 heads before him, all Japanese faces, not one Chinese, sitting here in a higher education institute erected upon Chinese soil indeed. What about this is natural? Ever heard of Kyowa-go, that travesty of a language they cobbled up with Japanese and Mandarin up in Manchuria? That's exactly what they're doing to Zhuyin, and you can even tell it from the name. Zhu, Mandarin for pearl, and Yin, Onyomi for people. Smack them together and there you have it. A glistening new identity pulled out of the foreign ministry's ass, he smirked, for all citizens of this newborn nation, past, present, and future. Except the Mantetsu and Guangdong army had 27 years since the Russo-Japanese War to fabricate their fait accompli. Guangdong, 12. Not enough for an ethnic hybrid to crossbreed itself into an existence, and certainly not enough for the actual Chinese living on the soil to just give up who they are. The Nanjing government was incensed with the idea back in 1950s, as they were with Guangdong's creation itself. Can you even blame them? The state of Guangdong is natural, he looked around, in the sense that the Japanese crusade against Western imperialism is natural, that the spoils of war we rob from the liberated are natural. There, that's your answer. In the meantime, Suzuki has sent for Tokyo. But will it be enough? That remains to be seen. Proposed a revised labor standards order. This will introduce the revised labor standards ordinance to the Legislative Council. The ordinance will start with the following support. 4 out of 10 for Sony. Oh yeah, Sony has the most, although Suzuki has 90% support for this. Okay, we'll try and cozy up with Sony then. One of the following must be true, so we don't have to take all of these. I will definitely meet with the Maverick. Morita Akio, president of Sony, has done what so few Japanese businessmen have even been willing to even consider, namely making Guangdong the home of their companies. His confidence in our nation is certainly appreciated. However, Morita holds substantial grudges against other members of the establishment of the Legislative Council, especially Masaru, who forced exile upon him all those years ago. Nevertheless, Morita is the one and only outspoken supporter of the reform inside the council. Surely he will see merit in Suzuki's proposal. We'll definitely go with that. Give more seats to Sony. Morita Akio of Sony was cautiously receptive, stating that this was a necessary first step on building a more humane and therefore more profitable Guangdong. Matsushita Matsuharu of Matsushita was more reticent, politely voicing his reservations and the stereotypical conservative concerns of where will we get the money and what destabilizing effects can this have. Yasuda merely nodded along to anything Suzuki said, while Ibuka Masaru of Fujitsu at once mocked Suzuki for proposing it and Morita for supporting it, denouncing the idea as nonsense and denying that there's even a need to resort to an ordinance in the first place. All told, the matter was peaceful. There were disagreements, but nothing theatrical took place. Oddly good behavior for a lot of corporate vultures. They might be planning something. You never know. Okay, above and beyond, I beg your pardon, Suzuki murmured. Promise me that you will enforce workers' protection regulations on any and all firms within the border, no exceptions, then we'll talk. Most certainly, Suzuki sighed. You do realize universal worker protection is the very crux of the RLSO, yes? Compliance is non-negotiable, even if I were to personally think otherwise. I'm not saying you would be the one to tear it all up, but you know who would? Masaru, the oh-so-mighty know-it-all that just wouldn't shut up about his glassy new order. Should his unapologetic, cheap labor exploitations run unchecked, I'm certain he'll end up with substantially lower production costs than the rest of us. This is how he'd turn the RLSO little more than a blank piece of paper in terms of fairness and practicality. So please, for the sake of everyone, don't let that weasel lay his hands on the deal, ever. That man wouldn't stop at Sony. He'll gladly screw over the rest of us for as long as he's alive. Okay, buddy. Consider the alliances and stances of the executive's opinions on labor rights and gathering support. This is gonna be difficult, isn't it? No, I'm not gonna get the support of the Yasudas. They were just nodding along to everything that Masaru was saying, right? So I'm thinking the only one that we can really go for is the heir himself. As the heir of a prestigious electronic manufacturer, Matsushita Electric, his voice carries great weight inside the Legislative Council and the even wider Japanese community. No matter how hard Matsushita tries to cement his position, he could always use some assistance. And who better to help the chief executive than the chief executive himself? I think that's definitely who we're gonna go for. I do not want anything to do with Masaru, because we are gonna go for Sony anyway. Oh wait, we can request political backing? Oh, I didn't realize we can do this. Meet Japanese representatives. I was only dealing with the corruption, I guess. And meet with the Chinese representatives as well. Our GDP growth in here will increase. Then this will also increase the next product's minimum base interest. Yeah, definitely do that. Increase our liquid reserves by $250 million. We cannot request more scientists just yet. Okay, I'm learning more and more each and every time. Matsushita Masaharu, the president of the representative director of Matsushita Electric Corporation, had a supercilious smile. Damn, that's a difficult word. As he sat opposite of Suzuki. Chief Executive, I'm assuming that I have been called here to discuss the matter of the Labor Act. Why have you decided to request the support of Matsushita? Our history has not always been the most smooth after all. Why not request support of Yasuda? They've always been your biggest allies on the council, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, I misread it. They were nodding to everything I said yes to. I believe an agreement can certainly be reached, but at a price, of course. I would like your backing in future endeavors in the council, with access to equal to or greater than that given to Yasuda. Your actors are profits and growth forecasts, and so these requests are necessary. I'm sure you can understand. Okay, so he's not a bad choice so far. Damn it, waiting for nothing. He didn't even sit down, the Chinese representative. We will spend 200 million for 4% of Japanese approval. Sure. Oh, we can only go up to two of them. In that case, I probably would have gone for the Yasuda faction instead. But it is what it is. You live and you learn. Track down on petty corruption again. Yep, that's it for now. You shouldn't have been seen complaining. Those complaints coming. You know parents lose their minds whenever they hear the word Japanese and imperialism next to one another. Not giving a fuck about the dumbasses is the whole point of academia. The home islands are a lost cause in that regard. That's why I'm here down south in the first place. You're not standing with those people all of a sudden, are you? Do I look like I have much of a choice? Apparently, you went on and on in class about how Jin was an artificial construct, but guess what? There's one sitting in front of you right now. I knew what I was signed up for back in 1956. I knew for all the opportunities and incentives the newborn Legation Council dangled in front of us, only the Japanese language proficiency mattered in the end. That you speak the same tongue as your Pan-Asian brothers and acquiesce in the same new order as they, just to get a job better than blue collar. You could have done something back then. Protested, stood your ground, anything. And applying for a Juyin just happened to be something, didn't it? We live in reality, Hayato, where piety to ethnic labels can only get a Chinese person like me so far. And I'm certain many others thought the same too, otherwise Juyin as a concept would never have lived on. So no, I can't just lash out like some raging entitled maniac at what little I've been given. That is a Japanese man's luxury. God damn. Smacking you across the face with the truth, huh? Okay. Last minute persuasion. We shall buy as many Yasuda votes as we need at the expense of considerable corruption. Oh, Jesus. Voting on the revised labor standards ordinance in the legislative council will commence when the focus is selected. The voting period will be 10 instead of 30 due to extraordinary ordinance. What does that mean? We hit 23.1 billion. Just need a little bit more before we hit our goal. Oh no, actually, I think we have already hit our goal. Yeah, never mind. We're in, boys. We're in. Ah, there it is. Now, how do we go for this? How does this work? We got the 10 Sony seats. Passing it will give us the following effects. Slightly decrease the workday. Slightly increase minimum wage. Increase Chinese support. Click to see details. Oh, we have enough. Okay, never mind. So it only takes 10 days because we already have enough support for this. The ordinance passes. Yasuda and Takui are always willing sycophants to Suzuki's rules. We're politely applauding, and Suzuki could tell that some of them even meant it. Morita Akio and his reformist Sony delegates, on the other hand, were in jubilation, calling it a big fucking deal. On the other hand, Masaharu and his lot were much calmer, offering superficial congratulations that Suzuki could tell none of them meant sincerely. Suzuki was not entirely pleased though. After all, he had to compromise on his own sense of business integrity, that is, bent over by using bribes to get the bill passed. But at least he had succeeded. That was worth more than any betrayed principle. How's our corruption looking these days? It's not that bad. Let's request some of this, please. I don't need political backing, though. Oh, the Juyin decreases our monthly corruption, having decent approval. Is that the total amount? What's our corruption like? Oh no, it still increases. But part of it is not as bad because of the decrease from the Juyin. But now we can invite Xinjiang. An invitation to Manchukuo's Chinese Economic Conference has recently been delivered to our government. In a feat of typical Manchurian perfidy, it arrived months late and has sent our diplomatic teams scrambling. The rats in Xinjiang have even dared to put the blame on us for being late to put in an RSVP. Despite their attempts to hinder us, we will not be made fools of. A delegation will be selected and dispatched in all due haste, and we will show the world Guangdong's finest. Of course, this leaves the matter of who we are going to be accompanying to this conference with a fair open, and we'll decide quickly. Little change in the factories, though. The cries of Shen's younger sister jolted him awake. There's no way those fools can enforce this. I'd pay more attention to a dog than this damn bill. Later that night, Shun heaved himself dejectedly through the door of his family's apartment, only for Hei to nearly knock him over the door, exclaiming that their father had the most money in his hands since they'd come to Koshu. Damn, it's working, dude. I'm excited. Oh, there's going to be an economic check. In less than 2 months, we will need to have a GDP of 23.06 billion. We already have that, buddy. We are doing so good. And our economic growth is incredible. And hereby we are cordially invited. We get to decide who will go with us. And of course, we'll let Sony come with us. But I think with that, this is pretty much it for today. I've been playing for about 2 hours. I'm afraid the video is going to end up like being at least half an hour, if not longer. I'll see what I can do about it, but we're definitely going to continue this campaign. I'm enjoying this a lot. I've enjoyed the production line. I've enjoyed the storylines as well. So I'm looking forward to more Guangdong and getting the blessed path of Sony going. That's pretty much it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you did. And hopefully I'll see you next time, and hopefully you have a nice day. Bye-bye.